Heroin, crack, meth, alcohol. Where does alcohol fall on the world's most dangerous drugs? That's the top 4: heroin, crack, meth, alcohol. Have a guess. Where's alcohol on that list? You're about to find out. I've invited Coach Alfie Bates to record an episode for you here today. Alfie is one of our 2 enrolment coaches who speaks to people when they book a call with us at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. We have these 15-minute exploratory calls where we invite you to have a chat with us, and those who call up will either speak to Coach Alfie or Victoria English. So you're about to hear from Alfie. He's got a very cool British accent. He lives about 30 minutes north of London. He's been inside of my organisation now for about 18 months. So let me pass the reins over to him, and he is now going to reveal where alcohol falls on the world's most dangerous drugs.
Hey, this is Coach Alfie from Alcohol Free Lifestyle. James Swanwick, the usual host of this podcast, has asked me to record a few podcasts for you that hopefully you guys will find useful. But before we begin, I'd like to let everyone know that if you are an entrepreneur or a high-performing individual, over the age of 35, really, someone that's had a good level of success in areas of their life, but is finding going alcohol-free or the relationship that they have with alcohol potentially detrimental or posing a risk in the future, then book a call with us. The link is in the description. It's www.alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90. But give that a go. It's a fantastic call that will likely be with myself or Coach Victoria. And it's about 15 to 20 minutes long. And you'll get, whatever happens at the end of that call, you'll walk away with clarity. We make sure that every single one of our interactions, regardless of whether you're a client, is to the utmost of professionalism and confidentiality. So let's dive in. For today's podcast, I really wanted to talk about a study. Now, this is really easily obtainable. There's graphs all over Google specifically about this study. It gained a lot of prominence when it came out. And that was because really it's something that is quite taboo around alcohol because it is such a social and cultural, it's indoctrinated into our society and culture, right? Especially if you grew up in an English-speaking country, it's a huge part of the culture and usually starts before the legal drinking age, right? But the thing that I wanted to talk about was something that is basically, if you Google it, the list of the most dangerous drugs, right? All dangerous drugs. And it's categorized perfectly in a graph that is in purple and yellow that you'll see on Google. Basically list every single one in 2 categories. So the purple, I believe, is how harmful the drug is to the user or to oneself, the one that's taking it or consuming it. And then the other one is harmfulness to others, right? Which is obviously an important category that we overlook, and harmfulness can be categorized into physical harm, marital harm, any kind of abuse, right? That alcohol can lead us to inflict on others, not speaking personally, but obviously that does happen. So with this may surprise you, this may not. Heroin is in second place, followed by crack, and then you've got methamphetamine. They're all your go-tos, right? They're the ones that I should imagine, avoid like the plague. It's just not something that you would ever recommend to any of your friends, I should imagine, let alone your children, right? And that's something that I want to speak about, actually. I'll circle back to. Don't worry, I'm not going to recommend that you recommend that to your children, but I want to make a really interesting point. Now, number 1 on the list is obviously the reason why I'm bringing this up on this podcast. By far and wide on both scales, to oneself, harmfulness, and others, is alcohol. Now, that may surprise you, that may not. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because I was on a call recently with a client, and he said something really interesting. And he said that one of his motivators on why he wants to go alcohol free is because he wants to set a better example to his son. And I'm like, of course, that's incredible, right? Of course. And I feel like virtually anyone that we speak to that has children says the exact same thing, right? That's one of the drivers. And then he followed up with saying, I want to be able to show my kid that you can drink from time to time and it be okay, and it's not a problem. And obviously he means his child as an adult. And then I said, just out of curiosity, let me ask you this. Would you recommend your son smoke marijuana from time to time as an adult? For some states in the US, that's just as legal as alcohol, and that may be okay, right? And personally, he said, no, I wouldn't. It's not something that he would be okay with. Whereas they are on completely opposite sides of the previously mentioned graph. Now, as well as that, you could even say, hey, a healthier alternative. Would you ever recommend to your child to occasionally do methamphetamine? No, you wouldn't. And it's like the wool is pulled over our eyes as a society of kind of how harmful alcohol is, and it just doesn't really get talked about as much because it's the number one most popular antidepressant, that's self-medicated and coping device and coping mechanism, whatever you want to call it.
Is it time to give your liver a break? Have you been punishing your liver for many years with seemingly innocent alcohol use? If so, I invite you to show your liver some love by enjoying natural supplements from my supplements company, Swan Vitality. The Swan Vitality Liver Cleanse contains my own concentrated formula of powerful natural antioxidants scientifically designed to cleanse the liver and support blood circulation. Just take 3 capsules every day with your evening meal with a half glass of water, and you will love the results you will see and feel. Swan Vitality is 100% natural, safe, and effective. To get started on your Swan Vitality journey, I'm inviting you to enjoy 15% off your first order. Just go to swanvitality.com and use the code James at checkout. That's swanvitality.com. Use the code James at checkout to trigger your 15% off.
A client of mine was in complete agreement. He said, of course, I'd never recommend my son to do any drug at all. But how many fathers and sons share a beer together? How many people do follow in their parents' footsteps if perhaps their parents had an alcohol problem? And it's we will often perhaps get drunk around our children, in the family home, and try our best to perhaps avoid that. But that is a possibility. And it's, for example, you'd never do cocaine around your children, which is still dangerous, of course, but it's lesser than alcohol. And it's a real shift in one's way of thinking when you actually do look at the effects of that. And you look at something that I always like to point out, and I'm sure this won't come as a shock to most of you listening, but always the most successful people or the healthiest people or anyone that's at the top of their field or craft, they're not, besides perhaps something in the arts, but other than that, there's no substance abuse, or there is no room or time for that, because the standards that of which someone like Kobe Bryant, as a great example, would have kept to his day-to-day routine, it's you'd be stacking the deck against you. You'd be stacking the deck against your favor, which is something to always think about. Is the exact reverse of that, which is stacking the deck in your favor, which is something that Kobe Bryant, I guess you could say, did. He certainly, as far as I'm aware, didn't have a drinking problem. But let's say he did, for example, and then the temptation was there every evening to crack open a few beers, right? Hypothetically speaking. Now, him waking up at 5:30 in the morning or 4 a.m. and training for 3 hours or 2 hours and then going for a run and then eating healthily, and that is something that I would consider stacking the deck in your favor, because you've had that dedication, you've had that commitment, you've stacked the deck in your favor to be like, right, I've done all of these things to now And it took me hours. That's the thing as well. It's that actual commitment. It took me hours to train and to run, or even if it was just an hour, or I woke up an hour and a half earlier, to then now throw it all away by drinking 2 beers, 4 beers, 6 beers, whatever, which you would be, you'd be completely reversing all of that good behavior. You would, and unless you genuinely don't value your time enough, or your even self-esteem, you shouldn't be okay with that, right? And now, obviously, alcohol is a natural depressant, and progressively things with alcohol do get worse. But that, with drinking alcohol, it does deregulate your mood. So maybe that could be a consideration. But if you are a high-performing individual, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're someone in an executive position in a company, that I would like to bet that you have a very high standard of yourself and your time and your work ethic, and or at least in some specific areas of your life, you have showed that dedication and you showed that commitment, right? So it's it's clearly there. It's just about kind of reapplying it in ways that over time, progressively, we've kind of told ourselves that we have no control over, or we are able to rationalize. The mind or the brain is incredibly smart at trying to get what it wants, which, in the case of alcohol, is dopamine, right? It'll convince you in so many ways, and it's sneaky, right? Oh, it's a Friday. Well, hey, it's a Monday. I've had a long day, right? Complete polar opposites, but still the same situation, right? The same outcome, I'm away for the weekend at work, and there's a bar in the hotel, or there's so many different reasons that we can think of. There's a day with a Y in it. There's trust me, I've heard everything. So that's really something that I'd like to leave on for this episode. Now, I would like to remind you, if any of this has resonated with you and you'd like to book a call, then the link is in the link is in the description below. That, depending on timing, that'll be with myself or Coach Victoria, and you'll be in safe hands. And I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Cheerio.
Here are 5 ways I can support you on your health journey. Number 1, the Better AF group support. You can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/betteraf. That is group virtual coaching to help you to stop drinking. The YouTube channel at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. The book, Alcohol Freedom Formula, can be found at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. My liver cleanse from my supplements company, Swan Vitality, at swanvitality.com. And protect your eyes from screens by wearing a pair of Swannies blue light blocking glasses from my sleep company, Swanic Sleep. You can find that at swannies.com. Catch you on the next one.